And this is a tent configuration. It measures 12 feet long and 7 feet wide, and you can see I'm using an external frame on it. The advantage of the external frame is I can lengthen these connection points here, and that'll close this off to the bottom. The other option I've got is to canter the poles a bit, which is what I did on the other end. So instead of the poles being relatively vertical, like this center pole is pretty vertical, I cantered this one, and in doing so was able to lower the end very close to where the ground meets. So that's the advantage of having an external frame as opposed to a rigid internal frame. This will easily sleep 4 people and heavy gear. You could, if you needed to in an emergency, fit 2 more people in, 6 people. The tent material itself, the tarp itself, weighs about 4¼ pounds, and the poles weigh about 1 pound. These are actually off of another tent that I haven't been using for a couple of years, so I'm just recycling those. So here's your area inside. Certainly is pretty spacious. I don't have the ends tagged down yet, but this was just a demo to show you. The height of this is about 3 feet 9 inches. It needs to come down just a tad bit, so it'll probably end up being about 3½ feet tall. If I got into a campsite late, I could also use it as a lean-to. And actually there's plenty of material that I could use part of it as a floor, and then certainly a very sufficient lean-to across the top. So for the weight of 4 pounds, being waterproof, incredibly durable, and versatile, I'd say I got my money's worth out of this one, and wouldn't mind carrying this into the field at any point in time. I'm going to make a tarp using some polyester material that has carbon fiber in it. It is a waterproof material. I tested it as soon as it came in, and really impressed with it. Absolutely does not leak at all. And so the second feature of this material is if you use a set of pinking shears, the edges won't fray, and so I'm not going to have to stitch the edges. I'm going to start by making my tarp by measuring the material 16 feet long. I've just got my floor in my basement here to use as a table surface. I'm just going to roll that material off. I've already got a tape measure set up. With the material rolled out, all I need to do is find my mark at 16 feet, use my pinking shears, and cut the material. With the material folded in half, I can now take a felt marker and I can mark my material at increments of 1 foot each, and that is where I'm going to I'm hand stitching loops to the marks that I made on the material, 1 every foot. These are loops that are already attached. I'm using 3/8 inch elastic band, and I simply cut a piece of that off. As a measure, I'm using the scissors themselves, so I'm consistent with the length of the loops. And then I'm using coat and button thread that's polyester. So I stitch over and under the carbon fiber thread with the coat and button thread to add strength and durability to these contacts on these loops. And each one takes about 4 or 5 minutes to stitch. This tarp is approximately 10 feet 6 inches in width, 16 feet in length, and it weighs just over 4 pounds, about 4¼ pounds. So rather than having to pack it as a single element every time, I wanted the versatility of being able to separate the left and right halves of the tent. So what I did was I took 2 pieces of cord and I ran them 17 feet long, and I attached one to the left side, one to the right side, and I did that using spots of thread, and I simply tacked it about every inch or inch and a quarter, and then I took another piece of cordage and I laced those two together. I'm pre-setting 9 tie-out points that will hang from an external frame, and what I'm using are river rocks like these and a loop of rope. Set the rock underneath the material, gather the material around, set the loop on top, and cinch it down. These are being preset. This is one end, that over there is the center, and this is going to allow for the flaps to close at both of the ends.